How are you?
Hey, doing well, doing well. Hey, they say the early bird gets the worm. You are early bird. I like
I,
that.
I guess, yeah. Well, I went on and bragged about you for a minute first, actually.
Bragged
Um,
about me.
I was just letting people know about your books that you have written and how to find you other than here. So,
Oh,
I let everyone know you have a YouTube channel and that you have written a couple of books, a fasting book called A Hunger for Freedom and The Pranic Path and How to Grow It. And I cannot wait to read those books myself. So I had to let everyone know. And plus, I'm new to this, so I was kind of figuring out how to get us all on here.
Danny, you not new to this. You true to this. Wow.
Exactly. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much for doing this. You're such a beautiful soul. Your face just makes me so happy. I can't even put it in words, but I really appreciate you. And this morning, I caught you. I don't know if you do it every day. I'm not sure, but I caught your qigong practice, morning practice. And the cool part about it is that every day when I wake up and I go into my bathroom, I have this skylight that's like really deep, like a tunnel, and then a skylight at the top. So when I wake up, I always go in there and I'm grateful for waking up and I say thank you and that's it, like. But when I caught your live this morning, I put the phone down in the bathroom and you're standing, so I stood with you and then I did that all under a skylight and it was so perfect. It was so awesome because at the end when you like give the energy back up, it was like I was standing right under the sky right there in my own little space. So it's perfect. So thank you for that. And I will be doing that now every morning.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Synchronicities. Synchronicities. Oh, I'm glad that you joined us. I'm glad you felt the energy. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you for joining in.
Thank you. Yeah, it's great. I love finding new practices and just ways to feel good in the morning, especially. So important to start your day right. So,
Sure.
yes. How are you today?
I'm doing well. I was gonna ask you, Danny, if you wouldn't mind me sharing a little breath with you before we begin.
Yes, please.
Okay, and you can hear me clearly?
I can hear you great.
Okay,
Yes.
awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. was beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was so beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Awesome.
It's
Yeah,
it's nice to get a little, respiration before the conversation.
absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that. That was beautiful. What a nice way to start. Well, let's see. I was gonna kind of just roll with it because that's how my podcast is. I kind of just let things happen. And it's funny because at the top of my list is a few minutes of breathing in the beginning.
No way.
Yes, great minds think alike.
You already knew it,
Yes,
you know?
I did.
Yeah.
What I did, I wrote down a few words because I love the way that you use words so much. I've caught some of your content and I just love to listen to you, how you just it's like it's so fluid and I love how you just your thoughts come out in these really graceful poetic ways. So I wrote down some words yesterday
Mhm.
that I just wanted to I'll say like the word to you and then have you just tell me what that word makes you feel right in that moment and just roll with it. Is
Okay.
that
Let's
cool?
roll. Let's roll.
Okay. The first word is love.
Oh, the heart. I just went to the heart. My mind went to it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very good. Anything else that you think of when you think of the word love?
Well, daily when we've been doing these practices, with qigong, keeping it strong all day long,
Yeah.
we talk about like when we go into this prayer position, we're resting next to the heart chakra and feeling that love energy pour in and around you, letting the energy ground you. And for the longest time, I was always giving love, but I didn't know how to receive, or I wasn't as comfortable receiving love as I was giving love.
Right.
And I don't know why that was. Maybe something during my childhood, but for a lot of my life, I always felt like I was just the giver and kind of just pouring from an empty cup, just giving, giving, giving until I had nothing left. There was nothing left in there.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I discovered that I could love myself, to the extent that I wanted to receive that love. It wasn't coming back to me, but that I could actually give myself that love that I was seeking.
Yes.
So that was a whole paradigm shift for me,
Nice.
and it allowed me to see the way that that love came back. What I put in would start to attract. So that's what I thought when you gave that word. So thank you.
Nice. Thank you. Actually, that hit very hard for me. 'Cause I'm the same. I feel like I definitely gave a lot of love from a very young age and was always giving, giving, giving and not filling my cup back up. So I relate to that so much. It is actually a very recent thing for me that I'm giving a lot of love back to myself now as well. So that was beautiful because I feel that very much, especially right now. Just this last like year especially um has been a lot of that. Has been really learning to love myself back and fill my cup. So how beautiful. So that's good. I have a friend here. This is an old Japanese samurai cat in the form of a cat that lives with me. His name is Kaido,
Ida,
and he always comes. Yeah, Kaido. Kaido means to fly or to soar in Japanese. So yes, he likes to come around and it's funny because he comes around when love is present. So he was feeling it right then. All right, here's the next word. There's 5 words, so uh the next word is breathe.
hmm, yes. you know, I thought of breakfast. We've been getting a breath breakfast. That's what we call it.
Yeah,
So the breath is life, and when I was playing the flute just now, I feel like you are listening to my life, you know?
Nice.
So I feel like that life it flows through us, it goes through us, and then, you know, it flows out, and then it flows into others. So there's a dynamic dialogue, you know, there's a dance that we do with creation that we have in relation to all sorts of vibrations,
Yes.
you know? So I feel like the respiration is part of that, you know?
Nice. Beautiful. That's beautiful. I love it. Yeah, I feel like myself, breathwork has become such an important part of everything for me. And I've been resonating with it, and then whenever I get on, it seems like when I pop on Instagram, there's some special breathwork that I get to be a part of. Um, this morning after your practice, there's a pro surfer from Australia named Tom Carroll, who, when I was very young, I grew up in California surfing, and I used to have his poster on my wall because he was an inspirational, surfer, and he's older now and he does a breath work, and I didn't know this, and just in the last 2 weeks I caught it, and I keep catching him like right when he does it, which is really cool. So like I got to do yours, and then I did another breath work right after that this morning live, and it was just, yeah, I started my day in such a beautiful way. And it was neat because he sits in his van right by the ocean before he goes surfing, and like it's dark when he starts, and then it was light by the time he was done, and you could hear all the birds waking up and everything. It was very cool. Plus, with technology, it's so cool that we get to do this. You're in Texas, he was in Australia, and I got to, do some meditation with you both today. So it's such a wonderful experience to get to do that.
Yeah.
I'm grateful. All right. Well, here's my next word. Integration.
Oh, integration. The first word I thought of after integration was assimilation, you know?
Nice.
There's almost like a cosmic conversation that we have with integration when we enter into that kind of interstellar communication, you
Yeah.
know? So I like the integration with that. Also, there was a sort of integration I had to do when I went back into civilization, when my other family members weren't on that same, they didn't have that kind of imagination to think that we could expand in that kind of way. So I was like,
Right.
okay, this is another type of integration here. So there's a lot of different integrations, not only with yourself, but with everyone else. We do the integration as well. Yeah.
Nice. Beautiful. Yeah, for me, that word is powerful because of the work that I've been doing with Sarah, which Sarah Zula is my friend and my subconscious healing coach, who was my first guest that I've ever had on the show. You're my second. And um, I've been doing a lot of integrating since learning to shift my perception, as
Mm.
I talked to you about the first time we spoke on the phone. Just even the slightest things as far as like daily life, where you tell yourself a lot of times, I need to do this, or I have to do this, and my newest thing, like I told you, is I get to do these things. I get to do this, and I'm so glad that I get to do all these things. So instead of feeling overwhelmed, I get to be grateful in those moments. So
Yeah.
it's
Beautiful.
nice. Yes. So that's what that word means for me right now. Okay, the next word is solitude.
Ooh, yes. That's a good one. For so long, I, I might have had an unfair advantage when it comes to solitude because being an only child, I started to learn early on how to be alone without being lonely,
Yeah,
that I learned that the two were separate things. You didn't have to be alone and lonely at the same time. In fact, there were some times that I felt the feeling of loneliness within the company of others, whereas by myself, I could feel even better. Like when I found solace in my own silence and my own solitude, you know,
Uh-huh.
that one of the best gifts that I could give to myself was isolation, which I found a lot of inspiration in isolation, you
Nice.
know? So interestingly enough, being alone, there's a quote by Blaise Pascal. He was like a famous philosopher and mathematician. And he said that all the world's problems, you know, all of humanity's problems stem from our inability to sit by ourselves in a room alone,
Wow.
you know? And I was like, wow, it blew my mind to think about like all of them, you know, like not like a few of our problems, like all of our problems, right? So he was saying that all of our problems come from that, you know, our inability to just be in our own presence, to be in our own quietude and solitude.
Yeah.
And by facing that, embracing that, you know, you can learn a lot. Yeah.
Yes. I love that. How that's awesome. Yeah. I myself, um, I spent this winter in a lot of solitude. I have animals. I have two dogs and two cats, so not all the way alone, but mostly in solitude. Um, and it was a lot of storms, and I have a fireplace, and I had a lot of time like sitting by the fire, and I have, if you saw my coffee table, it's just covered with books and oracle cards and so many fun things. And I feel very grateful for the solitude that I had. I had to actually relearn my version of that word because it did sort of feel lonely in the beginning. And I came out of it feeling that I enjoy being alone and that loneliness is a whole separate thing. And it's all here, so it's however you perceive. It can be a gift to be in solitude instead of feeling lonely, and that's what I came out of it with, actually. And it can, there it's a challenge for me, at least with myself, to see everything differently now. And that was one of the most profound ones for this winter for me, was not feeling lonely, or even when I felt lonely, sitting with it and being okay with it, you know? So, yeah, it's been good. It's a good one.
Wow. So you said challenge accepted. You said,
Yes, definitely. And I've spent a lot of time alone before that, on and off. I have lived off grid, up in the mountains, on and off throughout my whole life. So, as well as with people or in, closer to towns, but I've lived pretty remote a lot of my life. So this winter seems the most profound for me, just because I felt the whole world, and I felt all that was going on as I'm alone, so it seemed even more profound. And then I decided to start sharing like this, which is new for me. I am a musician, and I have, done different forms of sharing, but not like this before. And it seems really important to me now. So, yeah, part of why I actually had you come on here. But I'll wait. I'm gonna I'm gonna do the last word first, and then I have a question after that about you coming on here. So my last word of words for today is grateful.
mm, come on. Come on, you know, and it oozes from you. We feel that too, Dani. We feel like the attitude of gratitude, you know, keep that grateful, thankful spirit always, because seriously, you know, one of the greatest things that I ever heard, and there was a man, he was on the street and he told me this, and I didn't have anything to give him at the time, but he was just grateful that somebody gave him the time of day.
Right?
You know, that somebody stopped by to just listen to him and his story. And I remember he told me, like, if you're not grateful for what you have, why is God going to give you more to be ungrateful for, you know? And he was like, what if all you were left with tomorrow was everything you were grateful for today? You know? Like, what if all you had left, like, all you had left with tomorrow, the only things you had left were what you were grateful for right now? And I was like, whoa, I had to think about it, you know?
Yeah.
What would I have? What would I have left? You know? So just to be intentionally grateful. Another guy I ran into, which I didn't even know, he was like, you know, CEO, multiple, you know, level businessman. I ran into him at this convenience store, and I had on a shirt, a black shirt with a gratitude mindset that I had bought from one of my friends. Shout out to Earl Capule
Nice.
over there in Diego. He has a gratitude journal and gratitude gear. He sells gratitude gear.
Nice.
I was wearing his gratitude mindset shirt, and I was just walking because I just walk every day. And this guy was looking at me, and he was like, "So you grateful, huh?" And I was like, "Oh yeah." He was like, said, "Okay, how many days in a row you've been grateful?" And I was like, what? You know, like, nobody had asked me that. So it challenged me to recognize that I could actually be intentionally grateful, you
Yeah.
know, purposefully grateful every day.
Yeah.
You know, and I find new things to be grateful for in every moment. And so it started to rewire my brain. And just like you were saying earlier, Dani, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at
Yeah.
change, you know? So whereas before I might have had all sorts of things to complain about. Oh, I got this to complain about. That's going wrong. And this is messed up and that's jacked up. Now I'm like pressed, like, I don't know what to not be grateful for. Now I have all sorts of things to be great because my mind is just wired that way, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely a state of being, a state of mind that allows you to find, you know, the little gems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. What a great word to rewire your brain with, too, right? That's really cool way to think about it. It's like coming from gratefulness, and if you're in the process of reprogramming your own mind, that's a that's a huge help. And I've been in the same too, where I'm like, man, I usually would have gotten, irritated here, or, frustrated here, or whatever. And I stop and I slow down and I see what I have to appreciate about the situation instead. Even like crazy, like the worst thing you could think of that happens. And um, I'm really trying to see the good in everything and what it's there to teach me instead of what it's there to take away from me.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right. You just said it, Dani, you know, and that was that question, you know, instead of why is this happening to me, you go to like, what is this
Yeah.
teaching me? Oh, that's a powerful paradigm shift. Yeah.
Yeah. It's been, like I said, there's a lot of stuff that's like, I mean, I've had all these tools and I've been this certain way, but it's just recently that I've really been applying all these different ways of thinking and being. So it's fun, it's exciting. I'm like so proud of myself, and I never even used to say that. Just because I'm embodying this. It's like riding a bike or learning how to snowboard or anything where I can't go backwards now. It's here. I can only keep utilizing these tools. And yeah, I feel like there's no way for me to go back. I don't even remember, like, every day I'm so different right now, you know? Don't you feel the same? Like every day it's like, okay, like what Jerome do I get to enjoy today? Like a new version of yourself. And just also one thing that inspired me to have you on here and to get to know you, which I feel so blessed to know you, is that I feel like everywhere you go, you must just like set such a beautiful example, just with your smile and just your poetic ways. I'm grateful that there are people like you. There needs to be more Jerome Shaws, because the way you are is just, it's gotta just radiate out, and just people can't help but smile, I'm sure, when they see you. So
Wow.
thank you for being that way.
Wow. Thank you for that. You know, I receive that, you know. I live up to that. Thank you.
I'm not trying to embarrass you.
You're
Just
good.
it's just speaking the truth.
Thank you.
It's just what I
I,
see, you know.
like I said, I'm learning how to receive, right? It starts with that, right? Even a
Me too.
compliment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, me too. Me too. And I know you're humble like I am as well, but yes, you need to be celebrated as well. So thank you for what you do. My next question though is in however long or short you feel inclined to tell everyone, um, and a lot of people on here might already know you, but um, what inspired you to start sharing? We kind of talked, and I said, yeah, I started just recording a lot in my car and different places, and you said that you kind of started the
Mhm.
same. What inspired you to feel like it was important to get on here and share?
Yeah. So before I even got on here, it was the Open Palm podcast that I started back in 2018. It was July of 2018. And during that time, I had been in a place called Op City Realty. I was a telemarketer for a real estate brokerage. So
Hmm.
I was on the phones all day long, just talking to people. And one of my coworkers with the headset on, one day she said, wow, your voice sounds really nice on the phone, you know. And then somebody else piped up and they chimed in and they were like, yeah, like if you had a podcast, I'd listen to you. You know, at the time I wasn't even really into podcasts. I didn't know much about podcasts.
Right.
I was like, oh, podcast, what? So I went to one of my friends who knew more about it, and he had a podcast at the time, and it was called Path to Epic. Yeah, Nick McMahon, one of my coworkers. Shout out to Nick McMahon, because
Nice.
he was the catalyst that allowed me to, that kind of catapulted me into that new consciousness of, oh, I can actually put my words out and inspire somebody in this way. You
Right.
know, do it in this way. I can actually do it through this medium and through this mode. So I went to the parking lot of the grocery store outside of HEB. We have HEBs in Texas. That's our grocery store here. And pulled out my phone. I went to anchor.fm, right?
Nice.
And I just pushed the button. And I just started talking. And I remember my first episode, you can go all the way back. It was called Harmony and Discord. And that was what the Open Palm was based off of, this video game that I had played. Basically, like the way of the open palm versus the way of the closed fist. And I want to just inspire people, encouraging people to greet the world with an open palm instead of a closed fist. Greet the world with an open mind instead of a closed one. And just, be about expanding, be about asking questions, being about finding things and just piquing your own curiosity, opening your mind to whatever you might find. And I felt like you can find out through anybody. Everyone can be your teacher in some way. So I never underestimated another person, that I could find out more about them and more about myself through the eyes of another. So that just encouraged a lot of interviews, a lot of things down the way, but that's how it all started.
Nice. That's awesome. That's very, very awesome. That inspires me because that's kind of why I feel like I'm doing this because I want to learn so much. I'm always learning. I always will be learning, and this is what I want to do is bring people on here and to learn from them, but also have the whole world be able to learn from them at the same time. How beautiful is that? So, yeah, same inspiration and. I will definitely be tuning in more to your podcast and your all of your content too. I've seen some and caught you at very special moments for sure. So I can't wait to listen to more of it. That's beautiful. Well, what? How about this? One of my questions I think I'm probably going to ask everyone is, um, what advice do you have to people who are stuck in suffering right now and feel very lost and um like what any kind of inspiration or beginning advice gentle advice you have for people who are kind of stuck in a cycle of suffering and being lost right now.
Yeah. So the first thing that came to my mind, Dani, the first thing, it kind of circled back to self-love, and that I had to learn how to give myself what I wasn't finding on the outside. I had to learn to find that on the inside. So it's like the thing that I was going through and growing through, when I was searching for it externally, it was only when I reflected my gaze internally that I found it. And it found me. It was always waiting for me. It was like it was just waiting on me, you know? Another way, because there's so many avenues that you can go about it, was that for so many years, all of my fears, my tears, my depression, my regression, my suppression of all of my emotions actually had a lot to do with what I was putting into my body. That it was actually, I was changing myself at a chemical level, at a psychological level, a physiological level, through what I was putting in my body willingly, right? So it's almost like unconsciously and subconsciously, I was kind of mechanically doing things that I didn't know were adding up to something.
Yeah.
And they have a saying, you probably heard this, Dani, that if things don't add up, start subtracting. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like how less can actually be more.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah,
So I would invite somebody to explore how less could be more in their life, whatever that means to them, because it means different things to different people. Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, simplifying.
Yeah.
I've been on that same path lately too. So I laughed because, when there's too many things to pay attention to, then it's best to narrow it down and simplify and focus on one thing at a time if you can. And what you put into your body too. It's interesting that you say that, because you could mean food, or you could mean like what you read or what you watch, what you expose yourself to in general. We talked about that last week a little bit, about just that I've noticed what I feed myself, even with these, these phones that we have, that everyone has, and it's beautiful and fun to follow lots of people and learn lots of things, but I've also found myself having to, what I call, detox my thread lately, because I am a farmer, and there is a lot of people in a more of a fear narrative at times right now, because of a lot of things that have been going on.
Mm-hmm.
But as I always come back to, which is why I named my podcast what I did, is that it has always been this way. We've been through, famines and plagues and diseases that have wiped out even more people than this last one, and toxic spills and train wrecks and all the things that are happening right now, although, seems elevated, it has always been happening. And so I'm trying to point that out to as many people as I can, to try and, you know, help them calm their minds and get out of that fear narrative, because it seems very unhealthy to be just sitting in that fear. And then sometimes you could sit and scroll, and then you could just, it gives you anxiety. I can find myself like feeling anxious just from, even if it's true what I'm watching. If you see so much of it, I don't think our brains were meant to take in so much information like that so quickly. And if you have comments there and they're all negative, it's like, that's like a lot all at once. And I think that we definitely need to take breaks from that. And I think that's part of what's happening with people becoming really depressed and down right now, in my opinion. Just my theory is that, like, it's like too much, and that you really need to take time to clear out and have a clean slate in your mind, and not just have all these things, because then the chatter, we already have chatter in our minds. It's like, if you add to it, and a lot of it's negative, that can lead to suffering, I think. So I personally have been trying to really be mindful of what I'm putting in, not just food, but like, you know, content, and just people even that I'm around. I mean, a hurtful process in the last 5 years for me has been just like weeding out of even just people that are around me, which is a really hard one because I've always felt like I had all the love for everyone and could make time for everyone. And I still would love to be able to do that, but I've actually had to be sensitive of even what kind of energy I consume, you know? So that was a long-winded
No,
reaction to what you
no.
just said, but yeah, it brings up a lot for me because I feel like that's like a huge, like they call people influencers.
Mm.
So if we're influencers, then we want to influence, positivity and love um, and direct people to what helps free us up, and any little tips like that, are very key right now because I think a lot of people are scared and are suffering, and that our world, I mean, I can feel the whole planet. Like I said, I'm a farmer, so I put my hands in the soil a lot, and it it made my time alone this year, like I said, really intense just because I feel the whole emotions of the whole planet. So I have to turn that into something good and simplify, like you were saying, and then one day at a time, put out some positive energy back out there and help people realize that if you keep thinking about a lot of horrible stuff, you're gonna just feel bad. I mean, that's a normal thing. So, yeah,
And
I think.
how do you feel when you put your hands, Danny, like into the soil? Like how does that feel like when you link like that, when you sink like that?
I put my hands and my feet as much as possible. As winter is going away too, I get to do it a lot more. But grounding, I guess, so to speak. How do I feel? I feel like an earth mother. I feel like I was born time and time again to give love back. I don't know if everyone does that or not, but I feel it's so important for us to give energy back to the earth. We take so much from it. I always feel like I want to give all my love back through my fingers into there, and also it feels like the earth so like unselfishly takes away any negative energy that I had in my hands or my feet when I put them in the earth. I feel like it's just instantly like grounded and removed. So I want to give back to the earth and put love back in it. That's how I feel.
That's beautiful. That is so beautiful. So
You.
it's eloquent the way you put it. So it's almost like, Danny, like when you put like the soles of your feet, when you put your soles into the soil, it's cleansing for your soul. When
Yes.
you put the soles in the soil, it's cleansing for your soul. And you're under the soul, right?
Yes. And you're
That
healing
solar, right?
the soul of the earth too.
Right, the soul of the that's
Yes.
yeah.
That's beautiful. Yeah. I love it. I love the way you put words together. So cool.
You did
Really.
it.
No, seriously though. I mean, it's like it just comes to you and it's beautiful and they're all there. But yeah, I mean, I wish for everyone to take that time to put some of their to take energy from the soul and take the energy from their soul and put it back into the soil. That's beautiful right there because the soil needs us right now. It needs lots of love. So
Thank
what
you.
a
That's,
what a good thing to do.
yeah, yeah.
That's wonderful. Yeah, I'm excited actually. I'm a little bit about my excitement today. I'm getting prepared for my first farmers market of the season. Um,
Awesome.
yes,
Congratulations.
to thank you. To meet the community again, this beautiful little thriving, beautiful town that I'm so lucky to live near. I live in the mountains just outside of Prescott, Arizona, which is a beautiful place. If you've never been there, it's very cool. And the community has come together so much, and I'm so impressed by how they handled the last 2 years. And I was actually in a bigger city in 2020 when things first started to happen. I
Mm.
was in Tucson, and it's also a very beautiful city, but a lot bigger. And it changed drastically while I was there. And then I came home here to where my property is, and or my property at the time was my old farm onto this new farm, and I saw people here just being there for one another. I mean, everybody was going through their own inner stuff, and some people I didn't see for a while, and then I saw them emerge, and they were like, yes, I've been working on myself during this time, but now I'm ready to help this community again. And it's I'm really grateful to be a part of such a beautiful place, and the surrounding areas around here also. There's, I don't know, I've seen it in other places, but I'm grateful to be near a place like that. And tomorrow I get to um, sell microgreens to people, and some of my natural medicines that I make immunity love syrup, which is for your immune system, with elderberries and all kinds of herbs that I grew the couple of years before on my old farm, and wild harvested things that also are good for pain and such. So that's what I do, and
Wow.
I'm gonna share
Love.
it.
Spread the love for real. Immunity love syrup. I've never heard of
Yes.
the love.
I'll have to send you some. It's good stuff. It's very good stuff. I mean, there's been a lot of people dealing with respiratory issues and um, just different things, and it's an all-around good thing. I also teach people how to make their own medicines and such too, which I'm going to start doing. I have all these little branches of things that I'm working on, and there's only one of me, so um, I'm working on them all, but slowly but surely. But I make like a sweet oregano oil for people to take for breathing issues and things like that, and it's just so fun because, of course, I get to take them then, and then I get to share them with others and hear back like their stories of how it helped them, and then if they feel inclined to make medicine, I'll teach them how. So. I also sell the ingredients so that people can do it easier and things like that. And I use local honeys from, local beekeepers here and things like that. So it's fun. I like it. I'm excited for spring. I'm so excited for spring and summer. It's going to be a beautiful spring and summer. So,
Wow. So not
yeah,
only do you reach people, you teach people, you know?
yes.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm trying. Um, I want to write some books too. I'm inspired by people like you who have written books and published them, because that's the next thing for me at some point when I can finally, maybe next winter or the next winter. But I have a lot to teach and a lot that I want to share for sure.
Mm.
So, um,
Why do you feel like next winter would be the one versus this year?
oh, well, winter is a time when, because I feel like I'm going to be really busy because I'm starting a farm from scratch.
Mhm.
Um, I had a farm for almost 11 years, and things changed, and I moved on in 2021, and at the end of 2022, ended up here on this new farm. And so I am starting from scratch. I'm building greenhouses and doing all these things. So I feel like I might be a little too busy to write, but I will definitely be recording a lot of my thoughts and then putting them all together. I feel like in winter I might have a little more time, I guess. Yeah. I'm gonna be busy this year. So it's good, good busy. Um, Things that I love doing, which I feel blessed to be able to do. I
Right.
also encourage people to never be afraid to do what you love as your work, even if it doesn't make sense at first, but it's so rewarding to do what you love as your work. And I know I was frustrated in the past when I just would work for other people and I didn't understand what that meant, although I've worked for myself for a very long time. as hard as it may be at sometimes, it's so rewarding, because you're putting that love into it, so it comes out in such a pure form, I think. And um, chances are that people would benefit from what you love. So
The chances are, yes. Yeah.
yes.
Mm,
So
I,
yeah. Well, do you have? Let's see. I don't know. Should we? I think there's a few people on here. I thought about maybe we could take questions, or let's see. I'm looking at my what I wrote down, my little notes. Oh, I'm interested. I know you've talked a lot about this on some of the recent podcasts that I've caught parts of yours, or lives you've done with other people, but about fasting. Um, I'm glad that you wrote a book about it too, because it's important for people to really explain it. Because I feel like some people just try it and they don't even know why or what they're doing when they do it. I personally have a natural thing that happens to me when I feel like I've been eating, either too much or just not consistently. Like I'll wake up and I sort of naturally fast
mm,
some days from the morning all the way until about 3 or 4 in the afternoon. And then I'll break it with like juice or something like that. And that's just something that I've just followed my own rhythms with, but I've actually wanted to do more of an actual fast of a few days. Um, and of course, consuming water is what I do when I do that. I'll wake up and have water throughout the day. But it's almost like my body, if I really listen to it, it'll make me fast when I need to, um, only for part of a day. But I'm interested in what you think of that. Like, do you think that's a good thing that I do that sometimes? And if anyone else does that, like, where they don't, where they naturally fast until later in the day, do you think that's a good thing to do?
I'd say so. I'm of the opinion that yes, that's a good thing because you're listening to your body, you know? This
Yes.
is things that many of us, I never used to listen to my body. I didn't even know I was supposed to listen to my body. I was just doing whatever I was doing without considering that my body, might have a say in this, might have a play in this. So there was so much, for at least 28 years, so over 2 decades, I didn't really hear my body, you know? And now I feel like my body is one of my best accountability partners,
Nice.
when it comes to, okay, you're doing too much, or you can do a little bit more. My body, it always maintaining those pH levels, maintaining that homeostasis, that balance. It's always maintaining,
Nice.
somehow, even if we're straining or we're gaining, or it's maintaining, you
Yes.
know
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So when
Yeah.
I learned that, it was like that was a game changer for me to know that, oh wow, my body is also it's always talking, it's always speaking to me if I am listening, you
Yes.
know.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
feel that way too. Like, I mean, it'll tell me right away if I'm not supposed to have something. Um, and it didn't always used to be that way. But I feel like I'm listening to it a lot more now. I feel very much more in tune with it as I'm getting more in tune with myself. Um, and this is our temple, man. It's like, it's like this is what we get to walk around in this time, and um we talked a little bit about, like, when we talked on the phone about age. I don't, that's another interesting thing. I mean, I just don't, first of all, I don't believe that in, I've never believed in death in a traditional sense. Since I was very young, I've just always had this feeling, um, that we don't actually die, and that I've always wondered why these numbers were put out there as like you're supposed to just prepare yourself to wither at these certain numbers. It doesn't even like compute with me. And I've had people even get like frustrated with me trying to explain how I feel about it, but um, I don't feel any certain age at all. I feel timeless, and I always have. And I don't, there's a lot of people that do things to like make themselves, but I feel like they stress themselves out more even doing those like unnatural things to keep themselves young. And I don't just mean appearance, I mean your whole being, like just honoring your inner child is one of the ways, I guess. I mean, I don't think I'm ever gonna grow up in the sense of like, I won't grow old, okay? Maybe up, because up is good, but um, yeah, it's a weird thing. Like I heard Joe Dispenza say that like recently on something I caught. I keep catching all these little blurbs from people lately because I'm on that a lot, like thinking about it quite a bit, where they're like, "Why would you say?" 100 is like the like peak or whatever. Like that's like, what about 200? Why not 300 or 400 years? Like why should there be, a set thing where we all, I mean, basically we were all told, okay, around this age your body's gonna fall apart and you have to die. And I don't know. I just don't believe it. I've read stories about there are some people in Japan that have lived to be over 200 years old, and I don't know them, obviously, so I'm just reading something, and if it's true, then that's awesome, but I feel like it is. I feel like there's probably more people of those, high numbers of age than we know about. And I think it's all of a mental thing. So yeah, I don't know. What's your take on?
And why do you feel like, Danny, people get frustrated when you communicate that, when you express your beliefs about, age, non-age, like whatever, when you express your beliefs to other people, why do you feel like frustration comes from them?
It has been just because people are so set in their ways, I think, and like they were like, "How dare you? Like we've been told this for so long. Like why? Who are you to come here and tell me that I'm not supposed to be planning my death right now?" Like, you know, it's like a seems like a frustration, like a how dare you thing. Like who are you? Like how do you know? And then a lot of times I even get it because I'll tell people how old I am and they don't believe me and then they get upset because of that. Um, it's just they're not ready to think the way I'm thinking about it, I guess, but I feel like it's in all of us, and I feel like there's a lot of things that we've been told so many times that we just believe it. And a lot of people are just maybe weren't ready to get out of that to let go of that old subconscious pattern or like imprint that they had. And so it upset them maybe because it disturbed their mind to have to know that they're going to have to go within and let go of that, I guess. I don't know.
So you say that they don't believe it when you tell it to them, they don't receive it or they don't perceive it to be true. When
Right.
oh, this is how many years that I've been on this planet, time around. When you tell them that, it's almost triggering for them.
Seems like sometimes some people are just very happy and inspired by it. Um, but yeah, a lot of people get triggered by it and they've already decided that they are, gonna follow that imprint, and so they don't want to hear about it.
Okay,
I guess.
so when you say following that imprint, like it's been imprinted, it's been stamped,
Yeah.
almost embedded in our neural networks, that do you feel like they are more confined or more resigned, you know?
More confined, I guess. Mostly. I mean, because that's a big one. 100 is like that's like a standard thing. That's like a huge achievement, and that there's not that many people that will live to 100 supposedly. But I feel like everyone alive right now can live past 100, well past 100. I was watching a scientist talk, and I can't even remember which scientist, or I would give them props right now. But I was listening to someone speak the other day, and they were saying that we're actually made up genetically to live 120 years. That's more of what, you know, that's a better number that they've like, we're the way our genetics are, we are capable of living to that and beyond. But 100, I mean, 80 years old is what they're saying, like the average is. So that's not even close to what we're capable of. But I think we're capable of even more than that. So I feel, yeah, it's a confined thing because I feel like it's something that everyone has been told that. That's like a pretty typical 80 to 100 is like, you know, that age that we hear about our whole life. Okay, well, get ready because when you're this old, you're gonna wither and die. Um, I just don't believe that, you know? And whether I set an example of that or not, I just feel like so many people are going to live so much longer. Like I feel like we're going to see that in the next 10 or 20 years. It's going to keep going up. They're going to start saying 120 now and then 130 and 40 and you know what I mean? It's like, I just think, and I don't just mean by, because I know there's things that people have told me about recently where you know, wealthy people will have access to nanotechnologies and things that are happening that will keep people alive longer. I mean, mindset wise, I mean, letting go of those old perceptions and those old imprints. And I say imprints because if something's just been told to you so long that you just believe it no matter what, I feel like a lot more people are going to let go of that and see what happens. I
Yeah.
hope so.
Yeah, I'm of the same belief, you know, and I feel like you're already a living testimony. You're already an example. You're paving the way for
Thank
people
you.
to their perception. Yeah,
Thanks.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, I feel younger every day right now, and that's because of what I'm doing, you know? I'm waking up to like, I'm like so happy to be here, and I've always been this way, but I also went through some really hard times where I felt like, you know, giving up or just felt hopeless or, you know, was feeding myself negative and or putting out negative, you know, like I've definitely gone through a lot of letting go recently, and just it's by those little shifts I speak of a perception, like littlest things instead of, because we do stress ourselves out. I mean, it's all us, it's all in our own mind telling ourselves this, so we put ourselves through these things, and I don't feel like it's necessary, and I still do it on a daily basis, you know. I mean, I'm doing the farmers market by myself, and I don't know how many times I've caught the thought of, oh my God, I'm doing this alone, and I hope I'm gonna pull it off doing this alone, and da 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 da, like self-doubt stuff. And then I'm like, what am I, you know, what do you mean? I'm gonna kill it. It's gonna be great, you know? Um, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of how we speak to ourselves is so important. It's like the most important thing. It is. We're our own best friend. We're our own mentors. We're our own coaches. We're our own, you know, biggest fan. We can give ourselves back, you know, love. It's all that. It's not, it's, there is, you know, what comes in from the outside, people that are around us or information that we hear and take in, it does affect us too, but we are our biggest everything. Either critic or best friend or, you know,
Right.
yeah. So I'm really being mindful of what I say to myself and how I speak to myself in my own mind, which I
Thank you. You know, thank you for that message, that marvelous, like we need that right now, and we receive that right now because
yes.
that is so important for people to understand and realize that you are the only person that you're actually that you have to live with for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so, like, why not be kind to that person? Why not be nice to that person? Why not be loving to that person,
Yes.
since every time everywhere you go, there you are,
Yeah.
right?
I love that saying.
you know
I love that saying.
so
Yeah.
it's like, there was a philosopher, I forgot his name, but one of those ancient Greek philosophers, he was walking on the street and he saw somebody, and this guy was like in just a tirade, just irate with emotion, right? But the guy was talking to himself, right? He was
Yeah.
on the street, he was just like criticizing himself and just ridiculing himself and just berating himself and putting down himself, and just all this self-deprecation, right?
Yeah.
And the philosopher walked up to this gentleman and he said, hey, I see you're in the middle of a conversation, just don't forget you're talking to a good person.
Uh, uh,
Like, don't forget who you're speaking, right?
yes.
And it got the guy to think. Like, the guy just kind of shook him out of his daze for a moment, because we do that repetitively,
Yeah.
unconsciously. There's all, like you said, the mind chatter, the
Yeah.
self-talk. That was one of the best books that I ever read, Danny. It was a book by Dr. Shad Helmstetter, and it was called What to Say When You Talk to Yourself.
Nice.
And it just let me know that these things are always going, and if we don't change, the conversation, then
Yeah.
we get that vibration. you
Yeah.
know so thank you for that. We need that.
Thank you, though. That was a beautiful. I love what he said, because it's like when you're beating yourself up, it's like, hey, you're beating up a beautiful person. What are you doing? I love that. I love that he said it like that. I've never heard that before, and yeah, that's really, it's so important. Really, I mean, because yes, we're affected by what other people say, but it's what matters at the end of the day is that you give yourself some loving thoughts, and pat yourself on the back, and say something nice to yourself. Tell yourself you're proud of yourself. Why is it so hard for us to do that? It shouldn't be, we should be our biggest fans, you know?
Wow. So thank you for being the change that you wish to see in the world.
Thank you too. Right back at you. Hey, there's a thing, like, I don't know if you can see on my fingers. I have these little, if you're wondering what these are. So there's I discovered acupuncture a couple of years ago for the first time ever, which changed my life in a lot of ways, because I was always afraid of getting poked by needles. I spent time in the hospital when I was younger, so I never really wanted to like do it on purpose, because I had been poked by needles when I was younger, and in the hospital. And so I discovered a Chinese medicine man in Tucson. Dog alarm. Um, and so I found these. I haven't been going to acupuncture lately. Sorry for the noise, guys. um, and I discovered these things. They're called ear seeds. Um, they're to put on acupressure points in your ears, and you can leave them on for 2 or 3 days at a time. I've been putting them on my fingers, though, because these are the spots that my acupuncturist was putting on my knuckles that were so sorry, you guys. My beloved dogs. Hopefully it's not too loud. And it's probably nothing. Um Here, I'll be right back. Let me shut the door really fast.
Okay.
Okay, sorry guys. Okay, so yeah, so why I bring that up is because self-healing is my big new addiction of sorts, because this is helping me so much, and it's like, so I'm not able to go do acupuncture as much as I was. Instead, I'm doing this. I'm sleeping with these on here, and it's like, I have little acupuncture and acupressure points and I do it in my ears too. So I'm healing myself. I guess the reason I'm saying all this is because there are ways that we can heal ourselves. Obviously, there are beautiful practitioners out there and all kinds of people that we need to support that are healers. But if you can't afford to, or you don't have time to, or you just can't get around to going to a Chinese medicine healer or any kind of healer, you can heal yourself. And there's a thing about, too, when I put these on there, I also send love to these areas. I send love. I'm a piano player. I've been playing the piano. There's one. I've been playing the piano since I was 5. So my fingers are like super important. It's gardening and all the other things I do. But like, so I started sending love to my fingers, to the areas that are sore, you know? And there's so much power in that. Like sending love to parts of your body, to organs in your body, and really with intention, like focusing maybe after a meditation when you're calm and you're clear, and then like sending love intentionally to a pain in your side, or you know, any ailment that you have. And it's been, my knuckles were really swollen for a while because of all the work I do, and because of me doing this and then putting that intention in there, I've been healing my fingers on my own, like being my own kind of acupuncturist, you know, because they sell, it was like $5 for like 100 of these little ear seeds. And I have a book, so I know exactly, like I have like diagrams of like where exactly the points on your ears and all this stuff, because I wanted to make sure I did it right. Of course, you should always make sure you're doing things correctly, but yeah, I referenced the book and I use the points and I'm healing my own body, which is so exciting. I love that. So that's another thing that I've discovered lately as part of, I guess, you know, taking care of this temple, this body while I'm here. Um, why not learn to heal yourself, you know?
Why, why not? Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. And thanks for putting up with all the barking. It's just my neighbor just got home, so
No,
the dogs like to tell me about it. But yeah, yeah, it's fun. It's, I mean, these, like I said, these are amazing. I'm really grateful to learn how to do these things. And doing like pressure points is a really good thing if you if anyone can learn that.
mm.
It's powerful.
Danny, thank you for this. You know, thank you, you know, bringing this together, making this happen, and you know, I look forward to the next. It shouldn't be too long. It shouldn't be
Yeah.
too far away. I think next week we're gonna do it again, right?
Yes, if you'll still do that, that's you reminded me it's St. Patrick's Day, which is funny, but next Friday, the 17th, around the same time, if that's okay with you.
Awesome.
Um, then we will be back on here. And I was gonna say, if you want to do a different, if you want to take questions next week, we can, or we can, if you want to pull one of your friends or family or someone on here, we can do that. I'm very open to every podcast that I do. I'm just gonna let it just be whatever it wants to be. My whole thing right now in general in life is I'm letting the universe kind of just work through me, and as much as possible I'm trying to just let go and not try to control anything and just let it be. So this has been an amazing talk with you, and I appreciate you so much, and it's so fun to, I think we're both doing that, and I love what you're doing, and I hope that you keep doing it and keep sharing. And yeah, next week 3:33. Actually, I think that we're doing the Arizona never changes its clocks, but everyone else will be. I think it's next weekend. I'm not sure, but you and I will check in with each other, and it'll be either way. It'll be 3:33 Texas time next Friday, where we will do this again. So, I hope that more people can join. And Jerome, have a beautiful rest of your day,
You as
whatever
well.
it is you're doing, and I hope to talk to you. We can talk in between if you'd like, and I'm here. And everyone that listened now and in the future, thank you so much. And yeah, have a beautiful day, everyone. Thank
Take
you,
care.
Jerome. Much love to you.
That's,
Bye bye.
bye.